Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high. And when it's said,
If you have a car, would you take your car for repairs to a mechanic whose only car barely runs? Would you take your car to a mechanic who says, put whatever you please in the fuel tank? Kerosene, diesel fuel, gasoline, dirt, water, ketchup, whatever you please, put in the fuel tank. Why go to any doctor who eats junk food? Why go to any doctor who smokes cigarettes? Why go to any doctor who drinks booze? Why go to any doctor who is fat? Why go to any doctor who has not studied nutrition? Why go to any doctor who knows almost nothing about healing herbs and vitamins? Why go to any doctor who does not ask you what you eat? Why go to any doctor who does not ask you how much you walk and exercise? Why go to any doctor who does not ask you how much sleep and how much sunshine you get? Why go to any doctor who does not ask you if you have close friendships? Loneliness kills. Loneliness kills. Why go to any doctor who does not welcome and want your honest questions on health? Why go to any doctor who is not honest and humble enough to admit he or she sometimes makes mistakes as a doctor? Why go to any doctor who acts as if he or she has nothing more to learn? Why go to any doctor who mainly prescribes drugs instead of looking at and concentrating on the causes of your illness? I've had no medical doctor for many, many, many years. I've taken no prescription drugs for over 25 years. I do not have yearly physical exams, maybe never a complete physical in my 76 years. I aim, if possible, to avoid going to any doctors the rest of my life. But none of us, including me, knows for sure. Something very serious could happen to me today, landing me in a hospital with a doctor. But I aim to avoid that. And it's not like I just pretend I'm immune to all health problems. No, 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 no. I spend many, many hours looking at the many health books and articles that I have at home and learning new or relearning stuff that I kind of had forgotten. So in a way, I spend more time thinking about health than many people who go regularly to a doctor. I eat only healthy raw plant foods, plus raw honey and bee pollen. I walk and exercise much. I get enough sleep. I sunbathe a lot for vitamin D. I'm glad to have close friends. I aim to forgive. I aim to ask forgiveness. Most hospital beds would be empty. Most hospital beds would be empty if we all get serious about eating healthy, living healthy, sleeping healthy, sunbathing healthy, having close friendships. But sadly, instead of most hospital beds being empty, we see right here in Albuquerque huge building programs at the University of New Mexico Hospital, at Presbyterian Hospital, showing how unhealthy most people really live, how very unhealthy most people eat. I've studied health for over 46 years, hundreds of books, articles, speakers, documentaries, conversations, and my own experiences of what works and what doesn't work, at least for me. There's always more to learn about health. And there's always more to learn over about being healthy and staying healthy, because we all forget. If you are faced with possible serious surgery or some other major medical procedure, I urge you to go to several different doctors for their opinions. Don't stay stuck just on one. Many autopsies show that the cause of death was not what the dead person was being treated for. We all make many mistakes in life, and that includes doctors. If you need a doctor, do your damnedest to find a doctor who believes in natural healing, a doctor who lives healthy, him or herself, a doctor who only uses drugs and surgery as a last choice, unless it's an emergency. And then this powerful testimony from a doctor, Dr. Stephen J. Sainsbury. He writes, "During my more than 25 years as an emergency medicine physician, I treated hundreds of patients with gunshot wounds. The surgeon says, or emergency medicine physician says, I treated criminals who shot each other. I treated gun owners who killed their family members in drunken rages. I pronounced dead suicide victims who shot themselves with an easily accessible handgun in their home. Yet in all those years, more than 25 years of emergency medicine, I never I never treated a single patient who was shot by a law-abiding citizen in self-protection. Not one. Multiple reputable studies and surveys bolster what I observed. Choosing to have a gun in your home because it will keep you safe is a myth, and a deadly one at that. And yet surveys of gun owners show they consistently say they have their gun for self-protection as the main reason for about 2/3 of gun purchases. Self-protection. If a stranger breaks in, intent on robbing or attacking. Suppose you have the same fears and obtain a handgun. Which of these two scenarios is more likely? Choice 1, that gun you just bought will save your life from criminals or home invaders. This is known as defensive gun use. Choice 2, that gun will be used to kill you or a family member, whether that means the murder of a family member or an accidental shooting or suicide. It's choice number 2 by a landslide. In 2017, according to FBI reports, for every justifiable killing, a defensive gun use death, there were 35 criminal killings. And that doesn't even include the thousands of deaths each year by suicide or the accidental deaths that occur when there's a handgun in the home. Dr. Stephen Sainsbury, this emergency medicine physician for more than 25 years, says, what's more likely, that someone will break into your home and threaten your family, or that a member of your family, in a moment of anger or drunkenness, will resort to wielding that same weapon against you? Or that in a moment of despair, a loved one will turn that easily accessible gun on themselves, suicide. Or that your 5-year-old, who knows exactly where you keep your gun, will accidentally shoot himself. Certain behaviors, not wearing a seatbelt and shoulder harness or smoking cigarettes, for example, increase your risk of injury and death. Having a handgun in the home is the same. The presence of a gun in your home dramatically increases the risk of killings, suicide, and accidental deaths. Be responsible, be wise. Do not buy into this damn myth of owning a gun for self-defense. The life you save may be your own. Dr. Stephen Sainsbury, an emergency medicine physician for more than 25 years. I, Don Schrader, I have never owned a gun, and I never plan to. Millions of men, including many who are genuinely in love and make passionate love with their wives or their girlfriends, millions of men are terrified of having family and friends find out they want sex also with certain men. Some bisexual men try to smother their desire with religion. Some bisexual men bully gays and yell faggots to keep their buddies from suspecting that they may be attracted to men. Some bisexual men kill themselves slowly with booze. Some bisexual men kill themselves fast with a bullet. Some bisexual men murder LGBT persons. And many bisexual men live a double life. Some bisexual men have sex with many beautiful women. And they hope their hot sex with these beautiful women will shut off their strong attraction also for certain men. Billions of prayers will not stop the climate crisis. If everybody on earth spent hours praying to stop the climate crisis, that would not do it. It takes action. It takes a change of our lives, the way we consume and pollute, the size of buildings we live in, the food that we eat, how we travel, how much we travel. Prayers ain't going to do it. And billions of prayers will not prevent nuclear war. Millions of people taught as children to believe in God stay trapped in religion until they die. Millions of people taught as children to believe in God never feel free to question deeply. They're scared as hell to say, even to themselves, is there really a God? And if there is, why is that God not helping the millions of suffering people who cry their eyes out for help? And millions of people taught as children to believe in God never feel free to question deeply many other things in life. And just as they continue to swallow or pretend to swallow the religion drilled into them in early childhood, they don't really question U.S. wars, U.S. history of white supremacy against blacks and Native Americans and Latinos, U.S. history of injustice toward women, not allowing women to vote nationwide for over 140 years after the Declaration of Independence. They never feel free to question deeply sexual taboos, mainstream medicine, most doctors prescribing all kinds of drugs which can have horrible side effects, especially when they interact with each other as drugs. Never really questioned the American dream, which is a nightmare disaster for life on earth, and much, much more. So often when people begin to seriously question, in the search for truth, to question deeply the religion that was drilled into them as children, it can open the door to take a deep, questioning examination of everything in life. To stop swallowing bullshit, lies, feel good, make believe bullshit. From government, from religion, from family, from culture, from society, wherever. In the search for truth and wisdom. This month of March 2022, an article about the United Nations new science report on climate change. Deadly with extreme weather now, climate change is about to get so much worse. It's likely going to make the world sicker, the world hungrier, the world poorer, the world gloomier, and way more dangerous in the next 18 years, with an unavoidable increase in risks. And after that, watch out. The UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report said that if human-caused global warming isn't limited to just another couple tenths of a degree, an Earth now struck regularly by deadly heat, fires, floods, drought, in future decades will become worse in 127 different ways, with some of those ways possibly not reversible. The scientific evidence is clear. Climate change is a threat to human well-being and to health on this planet Earth. Delaying cuts in heat-trapping carbon emissions and waiting on adapting to warming's impacts will miss a brief and rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all people. Today's children, who may still be alive in the year 2100, are going to experience 4 times more climate extremes than they do now, even with only a few more tenths of a degree of warming over today's heat. But if temperatures increase nearly 3.4 more degrees Fahrenheit from now, they would feel 5 times the floods, the storms, the drought, the heat waves, according to the scientists of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Already, at least 3.3 billion, not million, billion people's daily lives are greatly in danger from climate change. 15 times more likely to die from extreme weather. And large numbers of people are being displaced. They got to get out of where they are by worsening weather extremes. And the world's poor are being hit by far the hardest. And to think that the world's poor are the least responsible as far as how much they consume and pollute and contribute individually to the climate crisis than those who are richer, who will suffer less, still suffer, but less. More people are going to die each year from heat waves, from diseases, extreme weather, air pollution, starvation, because of global warming. And just how many people die depends on how much heat-trapping gas from the burning of coal, oil, natural gas gets vomited into the air, and how the world adapts to an ever hotter world. With every tenth of a degree of warming, many more people die from heat stress, from heart problems, lung problems, from the heat and the air pollution, infectious diseases, illnesses carried by mosquitoes, starvation. And the report lists mounting dangers to people, to plants, to animals, to the whole ecosystems and the economies that we all depend on. You can't eat a computer. You can't eat your car. You can't eat a robot or artificial intelligence. We need food, and we need air to breathe, and we need decent temperatures to survive in. People at risk in the millions and billions, potential damages in the trillions of dollars. This United Nations report tells of people being displaced from their homes, places becoming uninhabitable, that nobody can live in them because of the climate crisis. The number of species, the different kinds of plants and animals going down, down, down. Coral disappearing, ice shrinking, oceans rising, increasingly oxygen depleted and acidic oceans. And some of these risks can still be prevented or lessened with action now. If your house is burning down, do you say, well, that's okay. Other people's houses burn down. And so what? Our earth, our Mother Earth, is on fire. Do we give a damn? Or do we pass the buck saying, well, my neighbors aren't changing the way they live, so what good would it be if I change? Or the government and the corporations, they'll think of something. No, those are all damn stupid, evil excuses. I am responsible for what I do regardless of what politicians do, regardless of what corporations do, regardless of what the rest of my neighbors do. I am responsible for what I do and for the example I set to others. And this report is an atlas of human suffering, a damning indictment of failed climate leadership. And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a statement, with fact upon fact This report reveals how people and the climate are getting clobbered by climate change. The panel of more than 200 scientists puts out a series of these massive reports every 5 to 7 years, with this one, the second of the series, devoted to how climate change affects people and our Earth. And last August, the science panel published a report on the latest climate science and projections for future warming, branded Code Red by the United Nations. What does Code Red mean in a hospital? What does red light mean when you're in traffic? Stop. Stop now. All the risks are coming at us faster than we thought before. Science saw that it was coming, but it's actually coming faster, these horrific risks and dangers, faster than they thought. More of it will get really bad much sooner than they thought. Every bit of warming matters. The longer you wait, the more you will pay later. Since 2008, weather disasters have forced about 1 million people a year out of their homes as climate change refugees, with the future looking even grimmer in some places. By 2050, 28 years from now, 1 billion, and that's 1,000 millions, okay? 1 billion people will risk coastal flooding from rising seas. More people will be forced out of their homes from weather disasters, especially flooding, the sea level rise, the tropical cyclones. Some regions that are presently densely populated will become unsafe, uninhabitable. Small islands face that overarching significant risk of no longer being livable because the ocean will be rising as massive ice melts in Antarctica and in the Arctic. Eventually, in some places, it will become too hot to work outdoors, which will be a problem for raising crops, for food, to eat, for your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, or the descendants of your friends. Cigarette smoking kills hundreds of thousands of people every year in the United States. Smoking causes lung cancer, emphysema, chronic bronchitis that doesn't want to go away. Smoking makes pneumonia, flu, colds, asthma, tuberculosis worse. Smokers die twice as often from cancer as people who do not smoke. And not just from lung cancer. Cigarettes can cause mouth cancer, kidney cancer, cancer of the throat, cancer of the pancreas, cancer of the cervix, cancer of the bladder, cancer of the colon, and cancer of bone marrow. And many deaths from heart disease are caused by smoking. Smoking not only harms the blood vessels of the heart, smoking injures blood vessels all over the body, causing strokes, poor circulation in the legs and in the feet. Strokes can paralyze, put the person in a wheelchair the rest of his or her life, and keep the person from speaking normally. Smoking causes wrinkles. Think of how some beautiful young women, so careful how they dress, and how they spend many hours and hundreds of dollars on making their skin look great. But lighting up the damn cigarettes that are going to cause wrinkles eventually, unless they quit smoking. Having surgery is a greater risk for people who smoke. Smokers require more anesthesia. Smokers are more likely to have breathing problems connected with the surgery and to need extra oxygen. The wounds of smokers are slower to heal. Smokers have more broken bones because smoking weakens the bones. Some women smokers have more problems getting pregnant when they want to get pregnant. Some women smokers have miscarriages. Some women smokers have more complications during their pregnancy because of smoking, more complications in giving birth. Smoking mothers' babies are more likely to be born premature, with more risk of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. The babies of smoking mothers are more likely to have allergies, mental retardation, behavior problems. And for children living with a smoking father or mother or both, hundreds of thousands of cases of bronchitis, pneumonia, ear infections, worsened asthma in the children. And what can they do about it, especially if they're very young? And mama or daddy are poisoning them slowly with the damn cigarettes. Smoking lowers the sex hormone testosterone. Why would any man or woman? Men have naturally more testosterone, but women have some and need it for good health, good sex. Why would any man or woman who treasures sex want to smoke cigarettes, which lowers their sex hormone? Smoking causes men not to have good hard-ons. And smoking causes the discs in the spine to go bad. What is the result? Low back pain. Low back pain. Now, that's not the only cause of low back pain, but it's certainly one of the major causes. Cigarette smoking, low back pain. Smokers, why pay the filthy rich lying cigarette companies to make you sick, to kill you. Why be their damn fool, allowing them to addict you to their poison? I've had dear friends, many dear friends, who smoke cigarettes. And I love my friends. But no one on earth hates cigarettes more than I do. Now, there may be millions who hate them as much as I, but I doubt if anyone hates cigarettes more than I do. I would not smoke a cigarette for all the money in this world. Spanking and hitting children harms them. Spanking and hitting children does not make them better people. No matter what your parents or your neighbors told you. Spanking and hitting children can lower their intelligence. Is that what you want to do to your children if you love them? Spanking and hitting children causes delinquency. Do you want them doing crimes? Taking out on other people what they have suffered from your spanking, your hitting their precious bodies? Spanking and hitting children causes more anxiety and depression. I wonder how many of the young people who commit suicide from depression were spanked or hit or neglected or cursed by the parents they had. Spanking and hitting children causes more aggression. Do you want them acting mean to other people? More addiction later on to booze and to other drugs, street drugs, heroin, cocaine, meth, you name it. Being a good parent depends on love and attachment. Having the kid feels my parent really loves me and wants me to do well in life. Being a good parent depends on setting a good example. Not the threat of, I'm going to hit you. If you do that again, watch out. I'll get the belt. I'll get the stick. That's evil. I don't care if your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents did that. It's evil. It's wrong. We can change. We don't have to follow all the evil ways of those who came before us. Children fear the adults who hit them. Children resent the adults who hit them. Oh yeah, they may behave for a while in order not to get hit hard again. But down underneath, there's an anger, there's a rage. When children are in a clinic or a hospital or jail, they usually have suffered abuse or neglect from their parents or other caretakers. And even parents who seriously harm their children are sadly often treating them as those parents were raised by their parents. And as I say, it can go back for generations until someone says, this ain't right. And I'm not going to make the same mistake that my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents made. There's a better way to live. Cursing children slapping them, insulting them, putting them down, threatening them, can cause as much or more damage than bruises. And countries where children are hit and spanked more have higher rates of adult violence and other crimes. It's as if that inner rage that was put into them from being hit on their precious bodies just begins to boil, and it can harm many other people when they get big, when they become adults. We must love children more and love them better. Stop hitting, stop spanking any child. Any child. We do not beat the hell out of children. Hitting them beats the hell into them. And we need to live a good example. If a father or mother tells their kid not to do drugs with their friends, but the father or mother are drinking booze or smoking cigarettes or eating crap, what kind of example is that? We need to practice what we preach. And when we fail, and all of us sometimes fail, we need to ask forgiveness, including from our kids or our friends or whomever. Hugs can lower high blood pressure. Has your doctor ever told you that? Hugs can lower the heart rate. Hugs can increase the love hormone and the feel-good endorphins. Hugs are better than drugs. And people who have strong connections with other people, people who receive the most hugs, sincere, warm hugs, are less likely to get sick. Has your doctor told you that? Loneliness kills. I love sincere, warm hugs. Cow's milk is great for baby cows. Human milk, if the mother is healthy, not smoking, not eating crap, not exposed to all kinds of dangerous chemicals, human milk is great for baby humans. Animals in the wild, animals in nature, do not drink the milk of a different kind of animal. No adult animal in nature drinks milk. And just as all animals are not alike, the milk from cows, the milk from goats, the milk from pigs, the milk from humans, they're not all alike. Cow's milk is designed to create a huge, big-boned animal in only 2 years. A huge, big-boned animal in only 2 years. And so, if you are fat, if you drink cow's milk, eat cheese, ice cream made from cow's milk, do not expect to lose weight. Cow's milk causes more mucus than any food. Thick, dense mucus that clogs and irritates your nose, your throat, your sinuses, your lungs. A gluey mucus that is hard for the body to get rid of. Cow's milk can cause hay fever, asthma, bronchitis, Cow's milk can cause sinus infections, colds, runny noses, stuffed noses, children's ear infections. I remember when I was a kid, I guess the only time I spent a day or two, whatever it was, in the hospital, I had an ear infection. And of course, I was pigging out on cow's milk products as a kid. Cow's milk is one cause of allergies. Cheese is a major cause of headaches. So if you are troubled with headaches, try cutting out all cheese for a few weeks. See if it makes a difference. And other cow's milk products besides cheese. 87% of the protein in cow's milk is casein. And casein makes cancer, human cancer, grow faster at all stages. Does your doctor tell you that? Casein in cow's milk makes cancer grow faster at all stages. It doesn't necessarily cause the cancer. But if you have cancer that maybe has been quiet and dormant in your body for years, consuming a lot of cow's milk because of the casein can make that cancer grow faster at every stage. Casein is used to make one of the strongest glues for wood. Far more casein is in cow's milk than human milk. Our human digestion cannot break down the cow's milk casein. So our intestines get clogged with thick, rope-like mucus. Eating cheeses and ice cream, drinking cow's milk can cause ulcers, colitis, colon cancer, heart disease, prostate cancer, especially prostate cancer, arthritis, osteoporosis, multiple sclerosis. Do not swallow the lies, the propaganda of the dairy ads. I grew up on a farm in Illinois, and my parents' business was cattle and hog auction and buying and selling these cattle and hogs from other farmers. I wonder how many of the dairy farmers back where I grew up ever knew these things. But it was money. Like cigarette and booze companies, the dairy industry wants your money. Regardless, if you get sick, if you suffer, if you die from swallowing their lies. And most of all the cow's milk, the cheese, the ice cream sold in U.S. grocery stores is pasteurized. The cow's milk is heated to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Pasteurization makes the cow's milk even more harmful than the raw cow's milk, provided that those cows were healthy. The teeth of children fed pasteurized cow's milk, which I consumed a lot of as a kid and into my 20s, are more likely to decay, and I had many cavities, many fillings, no more likely to decay than the teeth of children fed raw cow's milk. Pasteurizing cow's milk does not make it clean. Pasteurized cow's milk might, not always, but might still have hair, soot, dust, dirt, shit, sweat, small bugs in it. pasteurizing reduces many nutrients. And many years ago, I was addicted to much dairy. But I changed. Largely in the 1980s, I eat no milk, no cheese, no ice cream. But if you insist on eating dairy, eat only raw milk and raw cheese from healthy goats. If you can find somebody in the area that raises healthy goats, and notice goats, if fed in a healthy way, are not big and fat and huge like cows. No cow's milk, no pasteurized milk from any animal. Raw milk from healthy goats is much healthier than pasteurized cow's milk. If you want to be most healthy, consume no milk, no cheese, no ice cream. Milk is for baby animals. And no animal in nature consumes the milk of another kind of animal. Radiation, pesticides, other harmful chemicals concentrate high on the food chain in meat and in dairy, causing cancer, birth defects, and less immunity to disease. Daniel was my only Albuquerque friend who visited me on the Illinois farm where I grew up. My longtime dear friend Daniel was from Martineztown here in Albuquerque. In 1984, he spent weeks with my dad and me in Illinois. My mother had already died. Daniel drove trucks there in our family cattle and hog business. And over 26 years later, in 2011, here in Albuquerque, Daniel told me he wanted to have sex with me for the first time ever, but not a relationship. Daniel said, if I told anyone, he would kill me and maybe kill himself. I did not have sex with Daniel. I want to celebrate sex with a friend. I do not want to hide it as a poison secret to keep him from killing me or killing himself. And as he left my home that day, Daniel told me, I love you. Maybe the only time since I met him 39 years earlier that he said to me, I love you. The next day, Daniel was dead, attacked, violently, killed on the street here in Albuquerque. I was devastated. I deeply loved Daniel. And until any man on earth who enjoys sex and romance with men can tell his family and friends with no shame, no guilt, no fear, and until any woman on earth who enjoys sex and romance with women can tell her family, her friends, with no shame, no fear, no guilt, our struggle for romantic freedom must continue. Good night.
When it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on.